today we are going to revisit hair taping. I have done hair taping before, a long time ago. Still probably one of my most popular videos from, I don't even remember when, 2008? 2006? I can't even remember when I started. Anywhoodles! I have done hair taping before, but I did the pretty version. To where it's all nice and smooth and your braid wraps around and then you sew it down. That's the pretty version. I also revisited it slightly when I did the faux crown, where I do a Dutch braid on one side and then wrap it around and sew it down. Still way easier than a legit crown braid. So I have done it a few times, but we're revisiting it again because I keep getting questions on gym hair or hair for vigorous physical activity, gymnastics, martial arts, running, Zumba, what have you, various athletic activity. Now, you know, depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I just do one braid down the back and don't worry about it. But some of my girls are concerned because they don't like the braid whipping out and smacking people, which legitimate concern, or they want something that's not a lot of pins. I always recommend the Vortex Bun. It was a bun developed by a ballerina. I did a version, which I will link to down here, and I will also link to the original by Cinnamon Curls. Cinnamon Curls is a ballerina, so she knows some strenuous activity, y'all. She understands. So she came up with the Vortex Bun, and then I added some rope braids to it to eat up more length just to make it faster for my own purposes. It's a really good bun, but it does take quite a few pins. So we're going to do something that takes no pins today. This is also, incidentally, a really great hairstyle if you are due to go into the hospital for a surgery for a few days. Maybe you're getting ready to have a baby. Because trust me, after all that labor and stuff, you're not going to have to mess with your hair. So this is a good hairstyle for extreme activity. And it is a good hairstyle if you're not going to be able to do your hair for a few days. Say you're going camping, for instance, and you just don't want to mess with it. This is a good hairstyle because once you put it up, it will stay up until you take it down. And it's comfortable and it looks pretty nice. You will get some fray after a couple of days, but it's not too egregious. So yes, so we're revisiting this again because I wanted to do the version that will not move. In order for it not to move, we have to start with 2 Dutch braids, not French, Dutch. 2 Dutch braids. So I'm going to get started because this is the easiest part. Actually, none of this is hard. If you do not know how to Dutch braid, I have a video for that. Yeah. I suppose I put the link down for that too, if you need to know how. But we're going to do 2 of them, 1 on either side. So split down the middle so that your braids will be equal thickness. There we go. We're going to tie off one side. Or clip off, you know, whatever works for you, and we are going to braid. Now, when you are doing your Dutch braid, sorry, just made sure I was still recording. When you're doing your Dutch braid, don't do one down here. You need it to be up, depending on how wide you want your circle to be, and I recommend a little wider so that, like, if you have to lay down, you have a nice place so that you can lay flat. I'm going to try and get mine sort of right a little more towards the center because we're going to wrap the braids around the outside, which is why you don't want your Dutch braids to be down here because then it would be all around your ears and that's not comfortable. So, yay! So I'm going to Dutch braid. I'm going to do 2 of them, Dutch pigtails, and then I shall return to you and we will do the rest of this so you can see how well it stays. Yeah, a Dutch braid is an inside out fringe. So, you know, under instead of over. So, Anywhoodles, let me get these braids done and I shall return with the next step. Okay, back in a second. Alrighty, darlings. Now's when things get complicated. Alright, we should have 2 Dutch braids. Mine are relatively even, good enough. They are even thickness-wise. They're a little wonkus on the back of my head, but I'm not particularly worried about it. Okay, you are going to need some specialty items. You will need ribbon. I'm going to have to use a really thin ribbon today, and I'll show you why in a minute. How much ribbon you need depends on how big your head is, or how many little loops you want. I will show you how I measure mine. I go by arm lengths. 1, 2, 3. Does it for me. And I will have too much. I know from experience. Also, this ribbon is $1 at the dollar store. You know, the skinny stuff. I will have extra, but that's okay because once I get it all up, I will trim it to the appropriate length, and then I will have a ribbon that is the length that I prefer. Now, I'm using the super skinny ribbon today because while I do have yarn needles specifically for this, they have all come up missing at the moment. Yarn needles are usually, at least the ones I have, are blue plastic. And they have a really large eye. And since they're plastic, you're not going to jab yourself in the head, which is really nice. However, like I said, even though I have 2 of them, they have, I don't know where they are. I haven't taped my hair in a while. So I'm going to use an embroidery needle. Hopefully you can see. But it's got a wide enough eye for this ribbon. If you have something that has a larger eye, then you can use big old fat ribbon if you want. But since this is the needle I have to use today, I gotta use skinny ribbon. Alright, so there's your first specialty item. Your second specialty item is you're gonna need some of these little claw clippies, because we have to put our hair in place before we sew it. Yay! What you're gonna do, take your braids, cross them over, wrap them around the braids on the outside, as in, like so. You want to pull it fairly tight, and then we're just gonna use these as a temporary spot fixer. Around this one on the outside, I'm gonna come back around underneath, clip right here, like so. And then tuck this up. So I'm going to have to move my clip because my hair is longer than the last time I taped it. Didn't used to come up quite this far. Alright, for my girls that are currently wondering, well, my hair is long, but it's not quite that long. What if it won't go all the way around my head? What do I do? Easy. You want to do a horseshoe shape. It's basically this. Just run it up to the outside as far as it'll go. And then you're going to sew it down as well. That's it. You just have to work with what you have. So if you don't have as much length, then it's not going to go all the way around. Although I think you'll be surprised at how far around, indeed, it will actually go. Alright, that looks to be pretty groovy. It feels decent. Alright, now we're going to sew. The first thing we're going to do, since I usually like to tie mine in the back, is I'm going to run the end down through, actually this will be easier on the needle, so I have something to grab. Ding, ding, ding. I'm just doing a little short bit here, and I'm going to run straight down behind all this until the needle comes out the other end, like so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off. And this will be the end that stays here. The rest of this, I can make it a little longer. Thread the eye of your needle again, and then we're going to sew our hair down. I'm going to try really hard not to poke myself really hard in the head, since this does have a pointy end on it. The yarn ones, they're needles used to sew sleeves onto sweaters if you knit. The yarn needles are nice and blunt-ended and plastic, so they don't hurt. But, you know, it is what it is. So we're going to start. We just go behind our braids. Can I find the edge of my needle? Oh, there it is. I'm so missing my yarn needle right about now, you guys. But this will still work if you're in a pinch. And then you just pull it up. You do have to be careful to not pull too tightly your first couple of wraps. Again, next. And now we can see why we chose to do this with Dutch braids first. Because we are sewing the braids we wrapped around the outside to the braids underneath. That gives us a really good base. I already passed this one. Sorry guys, I gotta do this way. You'll see it when I come around this side though. I like to be able to see so I don't jab myself in the head. But yes, since we are sewing them into the braids that are already braided to our head, this gives us a super duper stable base. The other way I usually do this, the way I actually prefer just for pretty sake, is I start with a low pony and then split that into two and then wrap them around and then sew them down. And it in itself is pretty stable. I've never had a problem myself with doing it that way, but some of my finer haired girls have reported in that over the course of the day it will slide back on their heads because the only thing it is sewn into is, you know, regular scalp hair. And yeah, so they've reported it a little bit of slippage and that it moves. This will keep that from happening because it is sewn into the braids underneath. So that is pretty groovy. Yay! So yes, they used to do this back in Elizabethan times. I know they did it in the Italian Renaissance as well, if I am remembering correctly. This has been one way for women with exceedingly long hair to get their hair done up and out of the way, so they wouldn't have to deal with it for days at a time. Because, you know, back in the olden days, people didn't wash their hair every day, and they were also busy and actually had to do things for themselves instead of having other people do them. So it was nice to do your hair once and have it be done for a while. So as you can see, this is just, it's a slip stitch is all it is. That's pretty much what it is. You are just slip stitching your outer braids and sewing them to the braids themselves, basically. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and do the last couple of rounds here and check the back and make sure that everything looks okay. And then I'm not going to tie it off yet though. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, give me a sec. I'll be right back. Alrighty, last one. I'm just going to go up like so. You want to end up on top and then pull your needle off. Grab your other one like that. Give a little tug. I'm going to tie a knot. And then tighten it up. And then tie a bow. Bum, bum, bum. That's it. And your hair will not move. It'll stay like this as long as you leave it here. Let me have a look, see how bad the back looks there. Not too bad. You can see where I was trying to talk to you and do it this way, that I got a couple really close together there at the beginning, which usually they look a little more uniform like this, but you know, that's what I get for not looking in the mirror. I do look in the mirror to place on this one, but it is still gonna hold. Ta-da! So why don't I always do it this way since this is so stable? This right here, see in the scalp, right here, I don't like that. It's not pretty for me. It's not as pretty as when it's smooth under there with the hair wrapping around. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's my bag. I had a tail sticking out. Anywhoodles, yeah. So that's my deal. Like I said, I usually do this hairstyle because it's pretty and I want to add ribbons and then flowers around it like a wreath. That's my purpose. However, if you would like it for exercising purposes, or like I said, a hospital stay, this is a really great hairstyle because the way it is made when you are lying in your hospital bed, this is nice and flat on your pillow. You see what I'm saying? So that works out really, really well. And it can be done, and then you're not going to have to mess with it. Incidentally, in hospital stays, I usually just do 2 French braids, but either you need somebody there that can unbraid and rebraid them for you, or you just have to deal with the braid shred. And this kind of combats that. The braids tend not to shred very much if they're taped down, especially if you use a big fat ribbon, because of course it's going to keep your hair from brushing against anything else as well. I did used to have a really big thing that had a giant eye so I could use big fat ribbon, and it is apparently wherever my yarn needles are as well because they're all missing. I know that they're in a blue bag with all of my ribbons, and I don't know where that bag is. But Anywhoodles, yeah, this is your best bet for super strenuous activity if you do not want to do the Vortex Bun. And I mean, Vortex Bun is great and it holds like cement. And it's a lot quicker to do than this. This hairstyle takes depending on how fast you braid, say 30 minutes. You want to give yourself at least 30 minutes for this hairstyle, just to work out all the kinks. That said, after that initial 30 minutes, you can wear this hairstyle for a week if you so desire. We'll get a little shreddy, but you know, still, that's a good long time. So, there we go. We have pretty hair taping, and then we have practical hair taping, and this is your more practical version. It will stay up better because it has other braids that it is anchored to underneath, so it will not shift on your head like the pretty version may or may not. It totally depends on your hair type. So, Anywhoodles, there we go, my lovelies. I hope you have a lovely day. And I will see you next time. Until then, have a great day. Love you guys.